Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. In this video, I just want to share with you my first impressions of Starfield. And this is not a full review because I haven't beaten Starfield. I've only played about 25 hours of the game. So yeah, there's still a lot I need to do. To fully reveal a Bethesda game, you need to play the game for like at least 100 hours. So yeah, this is not a full review. This is just my first impressions of the game. And I don't really have a script, so I'm just going off from what I remember from my play session. And the first thing I noticed was like the movement, gameplay, and the gun handling. And all of that feels very similar to Fallout 4 or Fallout 76. This game pretty much feels the same when it comes to movement and gun handling. And that's not a big surprise, it's the same engine. Bethesda makes pretty much the same game every time but with new bells and whistles. This game's movement and gun handling feels exactly the same as Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. But there is less delay when you move around. In Fallout, for some reason, there's a delay when you move. This game doesn't have that. So it does feel a little bit faster than Fallout. Another thing I tested was the first-person camera and the third-person camera. First person feels exactly the same as Fallout and Skyrim. I didn't really notice any difference. And I probably should mention I've been using a controller on a PC. So I haven't tested mouse and keyboard. Now the third-person camera feels way better in this game than it does in Fallout. In Fallout, there's like this weird snapping when you're playing third person and it makes it pretty unplayable. This game doesn't have that. It does have auto aim, but doesn't have that weird snapping Fallout does. So the third person camera actually feels very smooth and you can actually play in third person now. The aiming feels good in third person, like the aiming down sight. I still think their accuracy is better in first person, but third person camera is way better and you can actually play the game in third person. Unlike Fallout, right? In Fallout, you pretty much had to do everything first person except when you're walking around. In this game, you can loot, you can do combat, you can do pretty much everything in third person and it feels good. Now let's talk about the looting. The loot in this game and the looting system is pretty much identical to Skyrim. There isn't any junk like Fallout where you use junk to build stuff. This game doesn't have that. All the junk just goes to miscellaneous, just like in Skyrim. And it's pretty much useless, or at least I haven't found a use for it. You can sell it, sure, but you barely get any money from it. It's best just to leave it there. Which also means you're going to be spending less time looting compared to Fallout. This is more like Skyrim where you're only going to loot like the big things like weapons, armor, things that cost a lot of money. So looting system feels more like Skyrim. And your inventory is also a little more condensed, more like Skyrim. You don't really have armor pieces. You only have your spacesuit, your pack, and an outfit. And that's it. Right? It's simple as Skyrim, but it's even more simpler than Skyrim. Just 3 pieces. Suit, outfit, pack, and your helmet. Skyrim has all of that plus gloves and shoes or boots. And a shield if you want to carry that. So yeah, the inventory system is a lot more simpler than Skyrim. So that was basically the first things that I noticed, probably within the first half hour of the game. And a lot of people have been saying that the game feels kind of slow in the beginning. And it's also very restrictive, until you play like 50 hours of the game. Then the game starts to open up. I felt that as well. But as I played the game, I noticed that that's not the case. Yeah, the game's a little bit slow. And it does feel restrictive, like it's holding your hand. But after you do like the first constellation mission, which is very early on in the game, you can pretty much do anything you want after that. So within an hour and a half, you can go ahead and do anything you want. It's just in this game, it's not as obvious as in other games like Skyrim and Fallout. But after you do the constellation mission, you can just travel anywhere you want and do anything you want. So it does open up quickly, like the other Bethesda games. You don't have to play the game for 50 hours or play the main story for 50 hours and then the game opens up. I don't feel that anymore. Now that I understand how the game works, I can say that it opens up pretty quickly. You can go ahead and do anything you want. As long as you can, because some areas are very high level, so you'll most likely die. But you can go there and you can do the missions you want. Let's talk about the game tutorials, in-game tutorials. I feel like the in-game tutorials can be improved. Some of them are a little confusing and not straightforward to what they're trying to say. For example, I was trying to build the cargo links for the outpost, which is basically supply lines from Fallout 4. It's the same thing, but they call them cargo links. they connect outpost to outpost, even if it's in a different planet or a different system. But it was actually really confusing. I followed the tutorials in the game and I couldn't get it to work. I even went on YouTube to find the videos on it and no one has made any videos on it. So my guess is other people have been struggling with it, right? And that's just one example. There's other examples that don't really make sense, but I feel like those tutorials could be improved. This game has outposts, which is basically like settlements from Fallout, but they're smaller. Well, I wouldn't say smaller. The boundaries are bigger, but the things you can do in each of them is smaller. There's less things to do. It's not as in-depth as settlement building. So you can do that. But there's also shipbuilding, which is where you build your ship. I haven't spent too much time with it, but I'm already finding things I don't like about it. The whole feature is not intuitive. It just doesn't make sense. The way you add things, the way you upgrade things, it's kind of confusing. I mean, you get it after using it for a while, but in the beginning, it's very confusing. It's confusing to figure out what part of the ship does what. How does it improve your ship? How does it make it worse? It's very hard to figure that out. And then there's like an upgrade menu that upgrades everything all at once, which I guess it's good for casuals, but adding that was kind of confusing. To me, it would make more sense for you to select a piece and then you say you want to upgrade it, you want to move it, you want to change it, or you just want to delete it. That just makes more sense. Like settlement building. When you select something, you get the option to upgrade it, to change it, delete it, etc., store it. Why not do that with shipbuilding? Why have two different menus? And the shipbuilder has a lot of limitations. For example, there are some engines that cannot be placed upright. You have to put them on the side, which is weird because you can clearly see that you can put it upright or you can put it vertically. So why can't you just flip it and rotate it? Nope, you have to attach it in a very specific place. And that applies to other ship parts as well. So the builder is very limited. You can't just build any ship you want unless there's a piece for it. I don't know, the shipbuilding menus could be better, the whole tutorial could be better. There's a lot of limitations on how you can place objects. My guess is people are going to mod it. They're going to make mods so you can place pretty much any piece anywhere on the ship, because it's very limited as of right now. And also regarding the shipbuilding, you can't quite customize the inside of your ship, right? Like I thought you could customize the inside of your ship the same way you can customize an outpost or a settlement in Fallout. You can't do that. The way your ship gets customized in the interior is based on the parts you buy when you're building the ship, which I don't like because first of all, you don't even know what it looks like, right? You can have two pieces that say living quarters, right? But it doesn't tell you anything about those living quarters. It doesn't say how many beds there are. It doesn't say if there's chairs, furniture, tables. It doesn't tell you if there's containers for storage. It doesn't tell you anything. It just tells you how much it cost and the company that made it. They should show you like a preview of what it looks like inside. Or better yet, they should have the outpost builder, settlement builder inside the ship so you can customize it however you want. So that's a little bit disappointing. Now that I think about it, when you remove a piece, you get money back for removing that piece. And I think the reason they did that was so you can buy a piece, put it on, go inside your ship, look at it. If you don't like it, then you back out, enter the shipbuilder again, and then put a new piece, and then just repeat. I think that's why they did that, because you can't see the inside of your ship until you physically walk inside your ship, which is the other problem. You can't just customize your ship anywhere. You have to go to like a spaceport to enter the shipbuilder. So the whole shipbuilding feature needs to be improved. They're not. Bethesda doesn't go back to their games and improve on things, so we have to rely on mods for that. I mean, not customizing your ship inside, it's understandable, but not even seeing a preview of what the ship looks inside when you're building it, that would have been a very nice feature. But like I said, I haven't spent too much time in this game yet. You can buy different pieces with different, I don't even know what they're called, ship vendors, I guess. There's different ship vendors at each spaceport that will sell you different things. So maybe when I get further in the game, there'll be better spaceports that have less limitations. Now let's talk briefly about performance. I have a pretty bad PC, and to run this game, I have to run it on the lowest settings. And even though I'm running it on the lowest settings, the game still looks really good. I didn't get any frame issues, even in big cities. Other people have been reporting frame issues. I haven't had any performance issues or frame issues. I did perform a few tests in the game, and on average, remember I'm running on the lowest settings with a low-end GPU, and in big cities, I'm getting about 40 FPS, and I'm getting about 50 to 60 FPS inside buildings, which I'm not complaining, right? Like, I'm not too big on performance or graphics. I'm more focused on gameplay. If the gameplay is fun, I'm getting the game. I don't care too much about graphics, but I know a lot of people do focus on performance, so I'm just throwing it out there. And over the years, Bethesda has been known as Bugthesda because their games always have tons of bugs. And in this game, I haven't seen a lot of bugs. I've only seen like generic Bethesda bugs, like pathing issues. There was one time where my companion went on top of the weapons workshop during combat, right? So there's pathing issues there. And another time, there was I think it was a research lab, and one of the NPCs started using it and they clipped through the floor, right? So just normal Bethesda pathing bugs. Besides that, I haven't seen any major bugs or graphical bugs or anything like that. I haven't seen any game-breaking bugs. So when it comes to bugs, this game doesn't have very many, which is good. We don't like games with bugs. Now let's talk a little bit about the story of the game and just the game itself. I gotta say, and I've heard a lot of people say this as well, that the game doesn't really hook you. Doesn't really hook you or motivate you to continue the story like in Skyrim and Fallout 4. Right, in Skyrim, we had a great intro with Alduin coming, you know, everyone freaking out about the dragon and the whole dragon attack in Helgen. That was a cool intro. In Fallout 4, right, that was the first time we start outside the vault when the game starts, and then we go inside the vault, the bombs drop, then we see your spouse get shot, your son gets kidnapped, and now you're curious to know, who was that? Why is this happening? Why were we frozen? Why are we waking up now? How long has it passed? You have so many questions and you're so intrigued in Fallout 4, you just want to continue the main story. This game doesn't have any of that. In this game, you're basically a miner. You touch a stone, have a vision, and now you're going to talk with some people called Constellation, and that's it. Right, so it doesn't really hook you. And I haven't done too much of the main story, mostly because of that. But maybe it gets better. I don't know. Maybe it gets better. We'll just have to wait and see. The characters themselves are not very interesting, at least not the characters I've met so far. I'm not interested in any of them. I don't feel attached to any of them. I don't really care about any of them so far. Hopefully that changes, because there's always interesting characters in Bethesda games. So hopefully in Starfield we'll get more interesting characters as the game progresses. Okay, next thing is graphics look good. Like I said before, I'm running this on low settings and I think the game still looks good. Graphics look good, the characters look good. People have been saying that this is like next gen graphics. You know, Bethesda is innovating here with graphics. I don't agree with that. I think the graphics look good, but they're definitely not the best in the industry. But it looks good. It does look next gen. The characters are probably the best Bethesda has ever done. So that's really good. The voice acting in this game is good and they're using new voice actors. I haven't really heard any of the old voice actors like from Skyrim and Fallout, at least not yet, but there's definitely new voices in there and they sound good. Soundtrack is really good. I really like the music. I wasn't a big fan of the theme, but after hearing it for many hours and hearing the other music in the game, it's actually pretty good, which is great because the game is silent. When you're just out and exploring, there's like no sounds at all. Like most planets are empty, so you're not going to be fighting. There's not going to be like raiders trying to kill you and attack you. It's just going to be you walking. It's going to be completely silent. So I'm glad that the soundtrack is really good because that's what you're listening to the whole time. I really like the combat music. Exploration music's good. Exploration song is really good. The theme is good. I don't really have complaints about the soundtrack. It sounds good. It's very enjoyable. It doesn't get annoying like other games. People have been saying a lot of things about the cities. The cities do feel big, but the cities are mostly spread out. They're big because they're spread out. So they're probably the same as Fallout and Skyrim, but they feel bigger because they're way spread out. There's tall buildings everywhere. Kind of like Cyberpunk, how there's buildings everywhere, but you can't even enter them. They're completely empty, which looks nice. The big cities look nice, but I must admit, kind of annoying walking around in cities. Especially New Atlantis, the city is very spread out. So if you're trying to speedrun or trying to do something quick, it's kind of annoying that the cities are big. There is a transport system that you can ride in some of the cities, which does help a lot. I don't know, I guess this is preference. Some people would rather have smaller cities, other people would rather have big cities. I just want interesting cities. So far, these cities are interesting. There's a lot of like different alleys, different buildings, different shops. There's a lot more crowds. So it feels more lived in, which is great. That's what I like to see in cities in Bethesda games. So the cities are great. I do like them. I haven't played too much of this game and haven't played too much of the main story. But so far, the plot seems very similar to Mass Effect. In Mass Effect, it starts off with you finding this beacon that you touch, and then you have a vision of an alien invasion, and you pretty much have to play the game, figure out what the vision's about, and then you learn about the villain and you defeat the villain, right? That's Mass Effect's plotline. In this game, it's the same thing. You touch rock, the rock gives you visions. Now you have to go with Constellation to figure out what those visions are about. And that's as far as I got. I haven't played the rest of the game. Right, so it's very similar to Mass Effect, which could be concerning if it is similar to Mass Effect. Hoping it's not. I don't think it will be the same as Mass Effect. But so far, I haven't really heard anyone talk about the main story. Maybe it's not that exciting this time around. But like I said, I prefer a game that's fun to play. I will definitely play more of the main story and find out if it actually is a good story or not. But so far, the story hasn't really intrigued me, hasn't hooked me. And it seems way similar to Mass Effect. They added Mantling in this game, which is nice. It's a nice addition. Can't believe it took him this long to add Mantling. It feels nice. There's not much to say. It's automatic. You don't have to like jump again or press a button. It's automatic. You just have to get close to the edge. It's a very nice quality of life feature. I wish they added sliding and dodging like in Cyberpunk or the Outer Worlds. But Mantling is nice, right? It makes the movement a little bit more interesting compared to the previous games. Jetpacks. Jetpacks feel good. They feel really good. They don't feel clunky like Fallout. Fallout jetpacks are terrible. I never used the jetpack in Fallout. They just feel terrible. They're a little bit better in Fallout 76. But overall, I'd rather not use jetpacks. But in this game, they feel good. I'm not a big fan of the combat in jetpacks. So I mostly just use it for traveling and then getting to higher places. The enemies will also use their jetpacks during combat, but I haven't seen it very often. So it's like a rare thing that happens. And that's it. There's nothing innovative or significant about the jetpacks. It's just a jetpack, makes you fly. There are perks for the jetpack, so maybe those perks will make it better and more fun to play maybe. And it's one of your armor equipment, so it does protect you from enemy damage. Points of interest system. First of all, I think the system needs improvement. As you may notice, there is no mini-map in this game, which kind of threw me off in the beginning. But you do get used to it, and I'm okay not having a mini-map in this game. But I do want more points of interest on the compass, because right now on the compass, you only see the major points of interest, but you don't see the minor points of interest, which is kind of an issue in cities. Because in cities, at least in New Atlantis is really big, and so the city is divided into districts, and you see those districts on the compass, but you don't see the shops within each district. So every time I go to a new city, I'm always afraid of missing something or missing a shop because I didn't see the door or whatever, or I'm trying to get to a shop and I don't know how to get to it. So I wish they added like the minor points of interest on the compass, because that would be very useful. I think it needs improvement. I'm okay without the minimap, but the compass needs more points of interest. I think the POI system is good for exploring, but when you have a lot of points of interest like in cities, it needs improvement. And then you do have a map. You have what's called a surface map, and I think the surface map is completely useless. It doesn't give you any information, doesn't even give you the distance of the points of interest, doesn't show you all the points of interest, and you can hardly tell the elevation of the lands. So I don't find any use for this. Like, I never use a surface map. The surface map could have been very useful if it told you the elevation. And it kind of does, but it's very hard to see, and you can't turn the camera to see the elevation. So as of right now, the surface map is pretty useless. My guess is they're going to make a mod to improve the surface map, because it's a needed feature, but it's useless at the moment. I mean, they could have at least made it like a dark map, you know, where all the areas are dark until you explore it. Once you explore it, then you see all the information for that area, like the elevation, points of interest, etc. Right now, surface map is useless. Yeah, you can use the points of interest to fast travel, but I can also do that with my hand scanner, and I'd rather do it with my hand scanner because it's just one click of a button and there's like no waiting at all, and I find it more immersive. to point with your hand scanner, then go in a menu. So there's no need to have a surface map at all. You can't even see like resources, discovered or undiscovered resources. You can't see anything. It's a useless feature. Hopefully someone will make a mod to make it better. Now let's talk about fast traveling. This is something people have been talking about as well. That the game has a lot of menus. And yeah, the game has a lot of menus. But there's also a lot of different ways to fast travel. And some do involve bypassing the menus, which is nice. But that's not my problem. My problem is when you fast travel, as soon as you land, the ships there will just start attacking you. Or they will start talking with you. It's kind of disorienting because you just got there. You don't know what's going on and everyone's shooting at you or they're threatening you or something. And that's really annoying. So I don't know what's going on. I think there should be a delay. Right after you fast travel, there should be a delay until, you know, everyone there, all the NPCs start interacting with you. Like, I don't find it fun that I fast travel there and they're already attacking me. And I don't even know who's attacking me. So I don't know if I want to attack back or if I want to run away or do nothing. I can't decide because they're just attacking me. And in this game, you dive pretty fast. Your ship dives pretty fast. So I really hate that. I had the same issue in other games like in Lego Star Wars where you would fast travel and everybody would start talking to you or attacking you. And that's the other issue. People just start talking to you and you don't even know who it is. You don't know what faction there are. So you don't know if you want to agree with them, disagree, or attack them, or just hang up on them, not even answer the call. I remember there was this random encounter where there was these two couple fighting over directions. And they asked me like, hey, do you know where this place is? And I was like, I don't even know what system I am in. This is a brand new system that I just traveled to because I was exploring. So I couldn't agree or disagree because I didn't even know where I was. But if the game would have given me a few seconds to look around and be like, okay, I'm here. Where do I need to go? Or what can I answer, right? So yeah, fast traveling is kind of annoying. You don't know what's going to happen when you fast travel, right? And then when people talk to you, you don't know if they're good or bad. Sometimes you do, but not all the time. Other times you fast travel to a planet and that planet is restricted, but you don't know which faction you're talking to. You don't have enough time to react to the faction you're talking to, so you don't know if you should attack them or just leave to a different planet. So fast traveling to me is really annoying. They should add a delay where they give you a couple of seconds to land, I guess, to land in the new area. And then the NPCs interact with you. Okay, what's the next topic? The gun accuracy is kind of weird. That might be because I'm using laser guns, but I've noticed when you shoot someone, the bullets don't go straight, or they don't go where I'm aiming. So the accuracy is really bad in this game. Like I said, it might be because I'm using laser guns, so they're less accurate for some reason. I don't know, but the accuracy feels a little weird in this game. Maybe I need to get laser perks, or maybe because I'm using laser guns, I don't know. But a lot of the times when I shoot, it doesn't go where I'm aiming. Or maybe it's because we're in space and gravity changes the trajectory of the bullet. I'm not sure. But yeah, the gun accuracy is really weird. Just a quick note on control bindings. The bindings are a little different in this game than Fallout and Skyrim. For example, to use the menu, you press the start button or the options button. While in Skyrim and Fallout, you press circle to go into the menu, to your inventory menu. So that's a little bit different. And this game has a lot of menus, but I did find a couple of shortcuts that you can take. So for example, you can hold the start button and that will take you to the star map. You can also access the surface map and the outpost building from your hand scanner. So that's a nice little shortcut. I just wish you could change some of those shortcuts because I don't use the star map very often. I would rather bind that to inventory or missions, but you can't do that. At least I didn't find the setting to do it. I looked in the binding settings and I couldn't find a button for that. With mouse and keyboard, it's not such an issue. You just have a key for each menu, but on controller, it's kind of an issue how you only have one button to enter all the menus. That's just a quick note on the bindings. They're slightly different. You can't do any type of binding you want. Now this game has a persuasion mini-game. You can try to persuade someone, and when you do, you will enter into like a mini-game where you have to get like persuasion checks. And once you get all the checks, you persuade him to do something. And every option you choose has different points towards those checks. So I really like the minigame. I thought it was cool, it was fun. I just don't feel there's enough of them. We need more persuasion prompts. There's a lot of aid items for increasing your persuasion, but you hardly ever do it in the game. I wish there was more chances of playing that little minigame because I thought it was really fun. It's not like Oblivion or Morrowind where you can just use the persuasion every single time with any NPC. No, in this game, only when the NPC prompts you, you can do the mini game. So I really like it. I just wish there was more of it. There's even perks for it. I even got perks for it. I thought there would be more opportunities for the mini game, but there isn't. Maybe as I play the game more, I'll have more opportunities, but it's a cool mini game. The dialogue feels linear at times. Some people have said this, and yeah, it does feel linear at times. It doesn't feel like other games like Skyrim. I feel like there's very limited options you can choose from, and the option that I want or the thing I want to say is not always there. Right? In other games like Skyrim, I felt there was always an option for me when I was asked something by an NPC. This game doesn't have that. It seems this game has the same structure as Fallout 4, where you basically only have 4 options. Right? You have your passive neutral option, aggressive mean option, sarcastic option, more information option, and that's it. In this game, you might have 2 or 3 more information options. But yeah, it feels linear. It's like, it feels like they want you to go a certain way with your dialogue. And I don't like that. Like, I should be able to choose whatever dialogue I want in however way I want it. That's one thing I didn't like about Fallout 4 was the dialogue was very linear because the main character had a voice. In this game, the main character doesn't have a voice, but it seems the dialogue is the same as if he had a voice. This doesn't happen every time with every conversation, but it does happen often where it feels very linear. And it seems Bethesda is trying to make you say something to continue the conversation or continue the quest. Now let's talk about another topic a lot of people have been talking about, and that is the boundaries of the planets. And I'm just going to say the boundaries are not a problem. Like, I thought they were going to be a problem because that was an issue I had with the Outer World. In the Outer World, you had like 3 or 4 landing spots, and those landing spots were kind of small. So even though you were on a whole planet, it just felt very, very small, and I was concerned about that. But that's not an issue in this game. I hardly ever reached the boundary in this game. The boundaries in this game are really, really big. You're not going to run into the boundary that much. And I've done a lot of exploration. Most of my hours have been exploring planets. And I've only reached the boundary like once or twice. And I didn't even reach it. I just saw it on the map. I didn't actually go there because I already knew there was nothing there. Or at least I thought there was nothing there. So if you're concerned about the boundaries, don't be. Planets are big. The way the game works is you choose the landing spot, you land on that spot. That creates like a generated landing area with boundary. But that boundary is really, really big. There was one planet where I traveled. I did a quest on that planet, and they made me walk like 2,000 meters, which is a lot for a game. 2,000 meters is a lot. And I wasn't even close to the boundary, right? So the boundaries are really, really big. So I wouldn't be concerned about that. And if you do reach the boundary and you explore the whole area, you can just put another landing spot and do it all over again, right? It's going to take you like a couple hours to explore one whole area if you really wanted to. Like I've said before, the planets are mostly empty. But if you want to explore every inch of the planet, you could. It would take you a couple hours, and you can just go to a different landing spot and do it all over again. Right, so the planets do feel big. Boundaries are not an issue. People are just freaking out about this. I mean, I kind of freaked out too because of the Outer Worlds, but it's not like that. It's way bigger. Loading times. Loading times. I am using an SSD, and I have no issues with loading. Loading in this game is really, really fast. I don't understand why people are saying the loading is an issue in this game. People have been saying that the game loads really slow. It doesn't for me. For me, it's super fast. This is the fastest loading in a Bethesda game. I also have Fallout 76 on an SSD. That game's fast, but Starfield is way faster than that. This game is loading fast, and I don't know if it's because it's very early on in the game, or if it's because it's on an SSD, or it's just the game is optimized when it comes to storage and loading storage. But I absolutely have no issues with loading. This game loads really fast. That goes for the menus too. From my experience, whenever you go into a menu in a Bethesda game, it's really, really slow. This game is instant. As soon as you press the inventory button or the menu button, it instantly opens up. There's like no delay. It's super fast and very smooth. I wish every Bethesda game was this fast. And that's pretty much my first impressions of the game. There's probably stuff that I missed that I can't remember right now. And this is just the very first things I noticed, right? This is not a full review. It would take like hundreds of hours of gameplay to actually review a Bethesda game, and I haven't spent that much time with this game. Overall, the game feels like a Bethesda game. It feels like Fallout and Skyrim. It's just another Bethesda game. The plot line of the game so far is very similar to Mass Effect. Maybe that will change as I play more. It probably will. Can't imagine Bethesda copying another game franchise. Bethesda always makes original stories. The storytelling of this game, the way that the game tells you the story and the plot and it's how it's presented to you, reminds me a lot of Cyberpunk, where the story feels linear and everything is connected to the main story. And I like that. I've noticed there's more cutscenes, just like in Cyberpunk. Not as many as Cyberpunk or as scripted as Cyberpunk, but there's definitely more cutscenes than Fallout or Skyrim. The cities in the Outpost, a lot of them remind me of the Outer Worlds. People have been comparing Neon City to Night City from Cyberpunk. To me, it looks more like the Outer Worlds, like the space station where you go in the beginning when you leave the first area. I can't remember the name of it, but that's what it reminds me of. It doesn't remind me of Night City. I think it's called the Groundbreaker or something like that. It reminds me of that. It doesn't remind me of Night City from Cyberpunk. The perk system works very similar to Borderlands. The only difference here is when you buy a perk, in order to buy the same perk, you need to do a challenge first. Once you do the challenge, you can buy that same perk again. Besides that, everything is pretty much exactly the same as Borderlands. And I gotta say, the perk challenges are actually pretty fun. And it's usually a challenge involving the perk. For example, when you buy the jetpack perk, your challenge is to use the jetpack while in combat, I believe. You can just do it. And once you do the challenge, then you can buy that perk again for a rank 2 and rank 3 and rank 4 and so on. I think rank 4 is the max for all perks. So do I recommend this game? Well, I'm gonna say this. If you did not like Fallout 4 and you did not like Skyrim, then do not get this game. This game is not for you. You're not gonna like it because this game is exactly like Skyrim and Fallout. Now, on the other hand, if you really like Fallout and Skyrim and Bethesda games, then it's a no-brainer. Get the game. It's just as good, just as memorable. The exploration is just as fun as exploring Skyrim. The crafting and customization is just as fun as in Fallout. It's basically a mash between Fallout and Skyrim with a few new things that you can find in other similar games like Cyberpunk and Borderlands, The Outer Worlds, etc. So if you like those type of games, then yeah, get this game. This game is really good. It's really fun. But if you don't like those games, if you don't like single player games, if you don't like Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Skyrim, you're not gonna like this because it's exactly the same. It feels the same. There's many mechanics that are exactly the same. Like the movement's pretty much the same as Fallout. But I'm very excited to keep playing this game. It's so fun. I can't stop playing. So far, the funnest part about the game for me is doing side quests and exploration. Like I said, I'm not a big fan so far of the main story. Maybe that will change. I've done a little bit of crafting with outposts and shipbuilding, but I just haven't gone too much into it. And that'll be it for this video. Let me know in the comments what you think about the game if you've already played it, or are you thinking about getting the game? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you next time.